Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thank you as always for tuning back in. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Layla, the Lenormand reader, and I use the amazing Lenormand deck. Welcome to a new weekly reading. We've got the Tarot Lenormand today. A lot of people are liking this deck and it's quite a pretty deck. It's a little bit sticky though. The texture of the cards makes it a little bit sticky. And we're doing an hourglass today. So let's go ahead and start with you, Aries. As usual, let's draw your medium-sized hourglass and see what is in store for you this week. Okay, Aries, here is your hourglass. It's looking really pretty, especially thanks to the beautiful star here in the bottom right corner of the hourglass. The star is a wish fulfillment card and it delivers healing and happiness across the board. So clearly something positive is going to materialize for you. We also have change cards with the stork and road, and the fish in the middle here as well can be a card of wealth and money, and by extension it usually points to work, money, business, and those sorts of areas in your life. So the bear and star here is very beautiful. This points to wish fulfillment and also bigger goals. The bear is about anything big and powerful. So when we see it with the star, it points to your bigger goals and dreams, and the goals that you achieve, the wishes that materialize for you can be quite significant for you. I have to say that with the tower and star, a similar idea also comes through. The tower is a card of the long term, and it does have that element of the top because it tends to also point to authority. So it is another combination that suggests achieving some big goals. The thing about the tower is that it can also represent institutions. It can represent something like a business or your job or your workplace. And it's also a card associated with administration, law, official things like that. So if you're working through such a process, for example, it could work out really well. If this is about your job or your situation at work, it also works out really well. And more generally, these bigger goals are definitely on the right track. A thing about the tower and possibly the bear is, Aries, that you want to focus on your long-term goals, so keeping that bigger view in mind. Now, the bird and tower is a card of conversation and conversation with this environment represented by the tower. So it's important here to vocalize, ask questions, and seek answers. And you could get the support from people at the top, especially since we have the bear as well. And this will help you materialize your goals. So the bear and birds is a conversation with that person, and it's typically someone who is an authority, has influence, and is able to support you. And I think you're going to find a lot of support moving forward and achieving your goals. So these are some really nice cards. Now, the bear with the stork and tower is definitely about growth. The stork is a card of change, and we see it with the stork and bear, which is that step up, along with the tower, which is similar. And on top of this, Aries, we have it with the tree. And the tree is another growth card in and of itself, because it's that blooming tree, you know, how it grows strong and big. And with the stork, it really emphasizes the changes as it does with the bear and tower. So we have three combinations here, all around the stork, supporting it with that element of change that point to a very clear growth, promotion, step up, improvement, whatever is that growth process or that improvement for you, Aries. We see that it materializes. It's very clear in the cards. And the bird, tree, and star is also lovely for growth in general. We have the tree and star. These are great cards for healing. And when we bring in the bird in for conversations and connections and communicating and also news, we see that you are going to get the answers that you need. Conversations are very productive, and you're probably also going to be very busy going after these goals and going after this opportunity that materializes for you. Now, the fish and road in the center, they point to a growth opportunity and a path that opens up for you in terms of money, finances, business, or whatever is that practical side in your life. So the road is great for opening up that opportunity. But what's also possible, Aries, is that the road points to change because it is a card of being at crossroads, if you like. And because we have the stork here, it really supports this idea. So you could be making some important decisions and choices, and you could also be pursuing this exciting path of prosperity and just generally a path of improvement that we see opened up with the other cards. So very, very beautiful cards. The bear with the fish and tree into the road and tower supports what we said. This is definitely a combination for growth, for pursuing this step up, this promotion. And there is a clear focus on the longer term. Both the tree and tower are slower. The bear is also slower. And these two, especially the tower, have their view on the long term. So what you're doing here, Aries, is not for the short term. What the growth that you're going to experience, hopefully this week, is aligned with your longer term goals. So these are great. The bird with the fish and stork into the road and star is also very lovely and even prettier because of the star in here. You're definitely on the right track to wish fulfillment. Finances look great. Getting that deal looks great. Getting that raise or bonus or improvement looks great. And overall, your objectives and your sense of growth is very well highlighted in the cards. So there are some very beautiful messages for positive changes, Aries, if you want to embrace that prosperity and be willing to maybe ask a few questions and interact. Now, the fish really focuses on the area. So it is a card of work, money, business, and prosperity in that sense. But the cards are also great in other areas. I'm not seeing relationships as such, like one-on-one relationships, personal relationships, but it's clearly focused on some positive improvements and some wonderful growth. So let me know how this plays out for you, Aries. I certainly hope it materializes positively for you. Very best of luck with the week. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, take very good care of yourself. Hello, Taurus. Welcome to your weekly reading. Let's draw your medium-sized hourglass and let's see what is in store for you this week. Okay, Taurus, here is your hourglass, and it's focused on news. We have both the rider and the letter, but we also have a clear message of an ending. So this news or communication or messages, they could be about moving on from something. We also have other cards that are very clear about this, and that is the scythe. And along with the coffin and the tower as well, these are very strong cards, very clearly focused on an ending. The scythe and tower is about releasing the past, and the coffin is about ending a long-standing chapter. The tower can also be a card that represents something like a workplace, an organization, an institution. Usually it tends to be something official. It's also a card that represents government, official, administrative things. So maybe you're either focused on work or focused on these admin legal areas, and you are closing off a phase or a chapter or something in that area. The thing about the scythe and coffin is that they are very, very sharp cards. And when we see the scythe and anchor, this is definitely a card that encourages you to release yourself from the shackles. So these restrictions or something that had been holding you back has to end. And the anchor and coffin is very much a combination for really doing what it takes to close this off. The thing about the anchor is that, yes, it is a card that stays, but it is also a card that is heavy and that brings certainty. So when we see it with the coffin, it's really important to do what you need to do to close this off. The rider and coffin is another clear one because the rider is not only a card of news, but it's also a card of journeys. So it's a movement card. So it moves forward. But when we see it with the coffin, we're seeing here a clear focus on bringing a journey to a close, the end of the road, the end of the journey. So this is a very clear message in your card. Now the letter and fox points to an offer, a job offer, if we're focused on the job, but also the fox can be a bit deceptive. So it's important to read between the lines and to make sure that this news or communication is supportive of you. If there's anything hidden in there, you need to root it out, Taurus. Something else that I'm suspecting is because of these ending cards, the letter and fox can mean that the news that you share, essentially that you're leaving, you're announcing your departure, it could come across as annoying other people, or people maybe could be a little bit envious, or could feel like they're not sure what to do about this. So the fox sort of keeps them away. So I think it's important also, Taurus, that you be aware of the certain types around you. I don't think everyone has your best interests at heart all the time, or people might have their own agenda. But you need to do your thing, and if you need to move, and end whatever it is that's holding you back at this stage. The rider with the tree and anchor would have been the opposite. It would be this combination of staying in place. And what's interesting is that the rider and the tree and anchor, they sort of block the rider. The rider is a card of progress and movement, and it flows and it's fast. And the tree and anchor are very much staying stuck or put. So it sort of comes in the face of the rider. It can also mean this end of a journey, but what I also think this is about is bringing things to a conclusion. So you need to work through this, maybe negotiate, maybe also wait for the right time, but something needs to come to a sound conclusion. The rider and scythe is definitely a change of direction. The tree and tower is about the long-term view, and the anchor and coffin is about closing something off. So again, Taurus, these messages are clearly coming together. You're wrapping up a phase. This is coming to a close. And it might be that you need to wait for the right time, or you need to be patient for something to pan out. But at some point, you're going to call it a day. Now, what could also be happening here is that you need to wait and be patient for this news to come through. And this is what could be the patience or waiting message coming through the tree and tower. The rider with the letter and tower into the fox and anchor is actually great for a job offer, because we have the letter and fox along with the tower, and the rider, which is usually a helpful message, along with the anchor. So if this is about jobs for you, Taurus, it's very likely that you're going to get an offer. You have to wait for it to come through, and once you get it, you can make a change. The same idea can apply to any other context. It looks like the news that you're waiting for is going to come through, and it's just a matter of waiting for this news to come through before you make that change. The scythe, tower, and coffin, again, it was a very clear message of an ending and a change, and releasing yourself either from the environment represented by the tower or this phase. The other diagonal is the scythe, letter, tree, fox, and coffin. So again, we're seeing here this breakthrough with the news, and you wait on it a little bit, but it certainly leads to an ending with the coffin and fox. So very clear cards, Taurus, that deliver an ending. Yes, there is an element of patience and waiting until you can do that. Yes, there is an element of waiting and being patient for the right time, but that's going to come through at some point, and you're going to be able to break away, remove restrictions, release yourself. Now, in terms of context, the fox and tower could bring up these more practical, official areas of your life. It can represent jobs, but it can also be in other contexts. I'm not seeing personal relationships. I'm not seeing, romance or intimate connections here. So it seems to be more focused on your practical, everyday life projects, whether it is directly related to work, your business, or something else. So let me know what you make of this, Taurus. Are you ready to bring something to a close? And hopefully you get the green light to do this. Leave me a comment or two. I always look forward to your perspective. Very best of luck with the week. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, take very good care of yourself. Hello, Gemini. Welcome to your weekly reading. Let's draw your hourglass and let's see what is in store for you this week. Okay, Gemini, here is your hourglass. It's looking quite pretty, mainly because of the lovely clover at the bottom right of it all. And the clover is a card of luck, and so there could be some good things happening. We also have a focus on people through the woman and dog. The woman and dog represents a friend, a colleague, a partner, someone usually at your level. It could even be a sibling. So clearly there are good things happening with this person. The book in clover is great for some good news. It might be still on hold, and that's possible because we also have the coffin, but even if it's still on hold, it's a good thing, Gemini. The cross and house can be an important place, an important meeting, and you might also have some responsibilities, Gemini, to take care of, but these are all good as well. So it sounds like the connection here has an important role on your situation in general. The book with the garden and house can mean that you're discovering a place, or you're going to get involved in a place or meet with this person in a place that you haven't been to before. That's because the book is often a card of mysteries and things that are hidden or not revealed. So you could become involved in this place and meet some people as well. The garden is also a card of community, so it's a bit broader than the house. The house tends to be a bit more private. The garden is more public, and it usually calls for connections and networking and meeting people and those sorts of activities. And clearly with the woman and dog, it could be really welcome. So I think there's going to be a meeting. Maybe you haven't been there before, you haven't met this person before. It could be in your relationship altogether, but it's certainly looking like something that you need to be doing this week. Now, the cross, coffin, and clover certainly puts things on hold because the cross can be a heavier card, a card of burdens, or things being a little bit out of your hand. And the coffin is a card of endings. And so by extension, it tends to be a card of absence and waiting. So it sounds like you have to wait for the right time or wait for the green light. But certainly this lovely clover tells us that it's coming through. The book and cross points to some very important news or some important information. It can also point to research and digging more deeply into things. Classically, Gemini, the book and cross can represent religion and religiosity and spirituality. So perhaps you're dealing in these topics and you are meeting with this person or this community for this pursuit. That's possible. But more generally speaking, it points to important news or having to do some research. So get in there and do your homework as needed, Gemini. The garden and coffin can be usually moving on from a place, letting go, and like being absent from that place. But like we said, the coffin is also a card of waiting. So maybe you're waiting for the right time to get involved. So it can mean that you maintain proper distance until the right time. And we see with the house and clover, there's a lovely green light here with the clover. It's one of the luckiest cards of the deck, but I have to say, Gemini, that the clover can be a little bit unexpected in the way that it plays out. So sometimes we envision things to turn out a certain way and they don't, but the clover is here to tell you that it's fine. So keep an open mind about this person, about what happens or what you take away from this meeting. Now, the book with the woman and coffin into the dog and house, again, points to getting to know this woman or meeting her after a bit of patience. Maybe she's the one who had been absent or away, and you're waiting for an opportunity to meet with her after this time. And the cross with the woman, garden, dog, and clover is very beautiful. I think this is the brightest line, because we see here that there's a lovely connection with this woman. And she could also deliver some important news or information, as we see through the book and cross, which ties into this diagonal. So overall, Gemini, the focus is on a person or some people. You have to maybe wait until you have an opportunity to meet with them, but it sounds like it's possible within the week, or at least you get the green light within the week. So hang in there until you can get to know them and get involved. And I also want to suggest that if this means assessing a little bit this environment, then also do that. And when you're ready, then get involved with it. Now, in terms of context, Gemini, the cards are flexible. It can refer to your work or your activity, your day-to-day activity or your projects. It can also refer to something more personal, where maybe you're getting to know people or socializing more. I'm not seeing romance as much. No, I think it's more friends, colleagues, maybe siblings, the friendlier kind of relationships as opposed to straight up love and romance. So let me know what you make of this, Gemini. In what context did these cards play out for you? And hopefully there was a positive takeaway from networking or getting together with this person or people. Leave me a comment, let me know, and I always appreciate the feedback. Very best of luck with the week. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, take very good care of yourself. Hello, Cancer. Welcome to your weekly reading. Let's draw your hourglass and see what is in store for you this week. Okay, Cancer, here is your hourglass, and clearly it is focused on people, but also potentially separations, because we have the whip and scythe, which are a challenging combination. And the scythe is a card of severance and cutting off, whereas the whip is a card of difficulties, problems, obstacles, arguments. So when we see them together, they tend to represent something like a falling through or parting ways. And we have the man and woman at these corners, which clearly point to a relationship. And we have the dog in the middle line, which is a card of friendship. So the way this is going to come together is that it's likely that there's going to be a separation from someone. But also, other possibilities are on the table. So let's get into the details. So the whip and book is often surprising news, but also difficult news. So the whip cracks the book open, which is normally a closed mystery. And so this can point to some bad news or something shocking or something unexpected. And because of the man and woman in the other corners and the relationship theme in general, this can be news from someone that takes you off guard or about someone. The tree and dog are quite positive. It points to a relationship that is growing and unfolding. So this is in a little bit of contrast with the other cards. And the man with the tree, with the bird and book is very much about a conversation. So there's a revelation, like we said earlier, except in the corner cards, the whip tells us that it's a challenging one. The bird and book, though, are much softer and they point to a conversation. So perhaps someone or both of the people here are opening up about something. And when we see the whip, scythe, and woman, that is very clear. Yes, it can represent the separation that we mentioned earlier, but it could also be a surprise or something unexpected that is about challenges in relation to the person. What I'm also suspecting, Cancer, is that maybe this isn't a fallout with the person or between you two, but it can mean that they're having a problem. So there's a sudden issue that comes up and maybe you're here to support your friend or this person. The man and whip, again, can represent either challenges between the two people or the surprise that either one of you is going through. The bird and scythe is another clear combination of unexpected news, just like with the whip and book. And the book and woman can usually point to someone who is closed off, but it's the opposite here because of the influence of the whip and scythe in many combinations. So clearly there's a revelation about the relationship or between the two of you. Something happens that comes to the surface, and it's either problematic and you have to deal with it, or it's an issue between the two of you. So the cards, though, because of the order of the cards and because of the book and woman on this side and the calm and peaceful tree and dog, it's clear that this situation is not without solution, and it's also a suggestion to maybe dig in more deeply, so to take a bit more time with it. So if you can avoid being reactive, Cancer, it's a good idea. Now, the man with the tree and scythe into the book and dog, here is another message of a deeper change because of the tree and scythe. And again, the dog and book after the scythe suggests a revelation. So there's definitely something that needs to be opened up and shared. And this could clearly rock the boat, but at the same time, it seems to be an important step. And the whip tree with the bird, dog, and woman is actually a much brighter line, and it points to a positive friendship with this person and also the need to take some time to work things through, because we have the whip earlier and all of these nice cards come after. So overall, Cancer, there could be an argument or differences come up with someone. Something can come up and it's unexpected and you have to deal with it. Or it can mean that a problem comes up and you have to work together and solve it. But in all cases, it looks like the way forward is with avoiding being reactive, talking things through, and being a bit calm, or as calm as you can be in the face of the shock or this news or this revelation. So the focus is on the connection, on talking things out, on bringing things out into the open to resolve them. Now, in terms of context, Cancer, the cards are flexible. It can mean any relationship. It could be at work, in your home, family. It could be something personal, a friendship, a love relationship. Any relationship is possible. We're not really seeing a direction from the cards in terms of the context. So whether it's work, money, home, business, love, romance, friendships. Because we have relationships in every context, this could be quite flexible. So you let me know, Cancer, what you make of this. If something came up with someone like that was unexpected and you have to deal with it or talk about it, or if someone's in trouble and you have to find a solution and work together. I always look forward to your thoughts and perspective. So very best of luck with the week. Thank you as always for tuning in. And until next time, take very good care of yourself. Hello, Leo. Welcome to your weekly reading. Let's draw your hourglass and let's see what is in store for you this week. Okay, Leo, here is your hourglass, and it's looking quite busy and turbulent, I have to say. We have the Scythe and Whip, which are two pretty challenging cards, especially when they show up together. It's a challenging combination. It points to differences that come up. It could be an argument. It could be a problem that comes up. And we see them with the Road, which points to change. So it's very likely that you're going to move on from something and move on in a different direction. We also see this through a few other combinations. We have the Scythe and Ship, the Whip and Ship, and we have the Whip and Rider and the Road and Rider. And notice that the Ship, Rider, and Road, all three of them are cards of movement, travel, and change. So when we see them together without anything else, it points to moving forward in a certain direction, and the Road can point to crossroads, which means choices. And on top of this, we have the Scythe and Whip. So there's definitely a change of direction, movement in a different path, letting go of the path that you're on and making a change. So very clear cards. The Scythe and Cross points to a deep change that you need to make. I have to say, though, Leo, that the Cross can make things a bit challenging. This could be a tough decision. And the Bear and Road can support this because the Bear is a card of strength and power. And it means that you need courage, to make this change, make this choice, and move in that new direction. On top of this, Leo, we have a confirmation of a choice and change through the crossroads or the roads with the cross. So it really brings up this idea of being at a juncture and having to make a choice. It's not an easy one, but you have to make a change, and you might need to make it pretty quickly. The Rider and Ship, or Ship and Rider, like we said, is that combination of travel, movement, making changes. And physical travel could be the case for some of you Leos out there. But if not, more generally, the cards are about a change and letting go and making that choice and moving in a different direction. The Scythe and Bear is another one. Strong change, big change. The Whip and House can be an argument that comes up with certain people, maybe at home. And, the place that is represented by the house is flexible, but usually it's home and family. And like we saw here, you have to make a tough choice. So these are loud, turbulent cards, Leo, that bring up quite a lot of change and noise and really being busy with all of this. So it could be quite a handful. Let's look at the diagonals. We have the Scythe and Ship, very clear change of direction. The ship, house, rider, and road, you could be moving. So if some of you are moving or leaving a place, leaving a job, leaving a home, moving on in a different direction, it's very clearly represented by these cards. And the bear, ship, whip into the rider and cross is also adding to this. It's a big change, a big trip, a big journey. It's quite a lot. And you have to take it on. The scythe with the whip and road, like we saw, is a difficult path, and the change really that comes here, and the problems that come up that push you into this change. The bear with the house and cross is a bit different, but it does support us with the context. So the bear and house typically represents people in authority, and it can represent your parents. Classically, the bear is the mother, the house is the father, and when they show up together, they tend to allude more clearly to the idea of home and your parents. With a cross, you might have some responsibilities, or you might need to attend to your parents or your home. Maybe there are big problems, or there's an issue that comes up and you need to deal with it. But otherwise, the bear and house can represent an important place or some important people. And with the cross, you have to make some decisions around here. I'm also suspecting, Leo, that you need to stand your ground and take up space and, stand strong. So you're in a position to make these changes, to change directions and to move forward more aggressively and, stand up for that. So the context is very flexible. We don't really see whether it's home, work, family, personal. It could be any of them. The clarity is very much through the dynamics here. Deep change, big change, tough change, and also the need to act swiftly and with courage. Now, in terms of travel, I referenced that earlier. Maybe you travel and it's busy, or maybe you have travel problems, or you feel a little bit all over the place. That too is possible. But you're in for a choice. You have to make that choice, Leo, and you have to make those changes. And it's a handful, I have to say, this week, but don't waste time and embrace the change and move forward with it. So quite a powerful reading, Leo. I certainly look forward to your thoughts about this and how it plays out for you. Let me know in the comments what was up and if you ended up making those changes or traveled, if that was the case. So very best of luck with this, Leo. Thank you as always for tuning in. And until next time, take very good care of yourself. Hello, Virgo. Welcome to your weekly reading. Let's draw your hourglass and see what is in store for you this week. Okay, Virgo, here is your hourglass. It's looking like it's focused on news. We have the letter and bird, and we also have supportive cards that tell of good communication, good outcomes, and solutions. And that really comes through these bright cards here at the corners, the key and flowers. These are great cards for happiness, solutions, unlocking opportunities, and very positive outcome in general. The mountain and bird can be traveling, but I think it's more connected with the news part. It can mean that this news comes from abroad, or maybe that it was stuck for a while and that it finally materializes, which is very likely with the key and flowers. And we see the flowers with the letter and also with the bird. So these two are very similar because they're both connection and contact cards, and with the flowers on both combinations, it really supports this news coming through maybe after a time of being stuck. So these are quite positive. So the mountain with the letter and flowers is that very positive news. And the flowers and bird is also that positive news. And what's also nice about the bottom line is that we have the mouse, which is a little bit challenging. It's not very challenging. It just points to little issues. But with the key and bird, you are now in a position to solve problems and discuss them. And we see here that if you do that, you're going to find solutions and you're going to find the right conclusion. And so these are really supportive cards, and they encourage you to communicate, to get in touch, and to follow up. The bear and anchor is also great for being supportive and strong. And it also calls on you, Virgo, to have confidence and to create boundaries. And also, I feel that there are some things you don't want to compromise about. You're in a strong position. You don't have to compromise everything. So stand your ground, negotiate, have that conversation, and focus on resolving the problems or the gaps, and you'll find that you do so quite successfully. So the mountain with the bear and mouse, again, really highlighting some of the challenges or the stuckness, but then you stick with it and you persist on your side, and we see the flowers with a very beautiful outcome here. The key, bear and letter, into the anchor and bird is great for a very positive solution, very positive conclusion, and likely also, Virgo, the support of someone. So the bear can represent a person, and usually it represents someone strong and supportive, often people in authority or who have that kind of influence on you. And so there's some lovely news here that comes through. You definitely have their support if it's about someone as well. And there's a great conclusion and a really good outcome here with your news and your situation. Now, in terms of context, we don't see from the cards here if this is about money, work, people, personal relationships or not, but we see that the news is good, you close any gaps, you've got a strong foundation, and you resolve any differences, and there's a lot of good support. And like I said, having boundaries and standing strong and having confidence in yourself is definitely going to pay off, Virgo. Now, I do want to suggest that maybe you're traveling, or maybe you have a base or a connection in another place. And that's because the bear and mountain often suggest having someone abroad or being abroad. And the anchor and mountain is also that. It also means that. So because we have both with the mountain, it could be a scenario for some of you Virgos out there that you have a connection in that location. Maybe you're looking to go there or to create some kind of foothold over there. That too is possible. But more generally, we're looking at some really good news and some very good outcomes. So let me know what you make of this, Virgo. As always, I look forward to your thoughts and feedback. Very best of luck with the week. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, take very good care of yourself. Hello, Libra. Welcome to your weekly reading. Let's draw your hourglass and let's see what is in store for you this week. Okay, Libra, here is your hourglass, and it's a powerful message this week. There's definitely an ending and a clear change, and I think it's a sharp change or a deeper change. It's quite a big deal. We have the coffin and whip in the middle. These cards are very much about letting go of something and also like releasing it in a more aggressive way out of your life. We have the scythe as well, which is a sharp card for change and separation. And we have the stork, which is precisely the card of changes. So these combinations here, coffin and stork, stork and whip, whip and scythe, very much point to an ending. So the coffin and whip in the middle here, there's an aggressive energy, and they're quite opposite actually, because the whip is very outward and aggressive, whereas the coffin is very inward and slow. Coffin is the card of endings, and the whip is often a card of challenges and obstacles, well, more challenges. So there could be here a letting go, like a forceful, strong letting go and release. And the clover and scythe is a lovely message because the beautiful clover is a very lucky card. And with the scythe here, there's a breakthrough. So it sounds like you have an opportunity to let go and make a change. And it comes very clear in the top row where we have the rider and letter. And each of these cards is a card of news. So with the scythe at the end here, it could be a breakthrough or sudden news. And with the support of the clover, it's very clear that this is an opportunity, like a lucky break in a very literal way. So you get this news and you're able to make a change. And the thing about the coffin and whip in the middle is that it can point to the two sides of the situation where you were waiting for this to come through, and it does. Or now that it comes through, you're able to make the change and let go and release. In the other set of corner cards, we have the Rider and House. And this too is a similar message of news, because the Rider is like this delivery person, a messenger who comes with the news. And so you could receive the news, and this is what enables you to break through and make the change. The Rider and House is also a visitor, by the way. So maybe this is a meeting with someone, or you get together with them and you exchange the news. So how this happens is flexible. It depends on your situation and your context. The Clover with the Stork and House is another clear message for a change. And here we have the Stork with the House. And often this is the classical combination for a house move. And we also have the Scythe and House and the Whip in House. So this could be a house move, or you could be moving from some other place or location. It could be moving from a job, moving from a group, moving from whatever space the house represents in your life. And the thing about the Clover is that it's a very lucky card. So this is actually encouraged. It's a good idea for you to make this change. And now you have your opportunity. The Rider and Clover is another very lovely message here for the news. It's looking like really good news. The Letter and Stork gives you the green light. And the Scythe and House, like we said, is another combination of change. So very clear messages of change and moves and letting go now that you have the green light. The Rider with the Coffin and Stork into the Whip and Scythe. I have to say, Libra, this is a very strong line, because this whip and the scythe together, they often represent a very challenging combination. And the thing about the Stork and Rider is that they really encourage you to make that change. So it seems like you're going to have to be potentially a little heavy-handed about this, Libra, because this is an opportunity for you to really release yourself from the situation and embrace this change. It might not be very easy. It might take a lot of effort. It might cause things to be disrupted. It could be quite a turbulent situation or transition, but the timing is here and the opportunity is here. So it sounds like you need to apply yourself, Libra, in order to make this happen. The Clover with the Coffin and Letter into the Whip and House is sort of similar. We have this good news that comes through, and then we see the change or the separation and probably some arguments and differences that come up as a result of the changes that you're undertaking, Libra. Another thing is that the Coffin and Stork and the Coffin and Letter, especially with the Clover, it tells us that you had been waiting on this to materialize. And just like we suggested with the Coffin and Whip, it's a good idea to just hang in there and it's going to come through. And as soon as it does, you've got your lucky break, your opportunity, and you're able to make that change. So it could be quite a week, I have to say, Libra. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of change, and it happens with a lot of energy, let's say. Now, in terms of context, the cards are flexible. We could be looking at anything, really. It could affect your home life because of the house, but it could also affect other spaces in your life. For example, it's a job change. You could be releasing yourself from certain involvements with certain people. You could be moving. You could be possibly arguing with someone and letting them go, taking a stand and moving on. At the same time, I'm not really seeing people cards like one-on-one relationships. There's the House, there's the Letter and Rider, so possibly it brings up a closer relationship that falls through, and also that you're ready to let go of. In all cases, Libra, this is a great time for release and change, making a change that you had been waiting on, removing yourself from a certain place, situation, and releasing limitations. So apply your energy, be patient until this green light comes, and once it does, apply your energy and make that change and do what you need to do. And not everyone's going to like this probably, but you've got to do what you've got to do. So Libra, very best of luck with this. I certainly hope there's a lot of positive and relieving energies on the other side of this somewhat turbulent transition. Let me know how it played out for you. What was the situation? If you're willing to share, I always look forward to your thoughts and feedback. So very best of luck with the week. Thank you as always for tuning in. And until next time, take very good care of yourself. Hello, Scorpio. Welcome to your weekly reading. Let's draw your hourglass and see what is in store for you this week. Okay, Scorpio, here is your hourglass, and we're seeing some exciting messages, mainly because we've got the key in the middle. The key is a card of success and solutions. It's a card that opens doors. And we have the fish, which is the card of money. And so this probably means that it has to do with your work, your business, or some other activities in connection with your money, your finances, or some practical matters in your life. And we also have some really good news here coming through the letter in the context of the key. So the key and garden together is very much about success and solutions in terms of this environment. The garden is a card of place and community and people. So it sounds like you're going to find solutions with others. You're going to have an opportunity in a certain marketplace or a certain environment. And it sounds like you're going to have doors that open. So it's definitely a good idea, Scorpio, to get involved, to speak with people, to connect, because the garden also encourages networking and connection. Now, the cross and fish can mean that you make some important decisions with regards to your money and finances, or by extension, with your work, your business, and this practical side of your life. The cross can be a little bit challenging, and we actually have it with a couple of challenging cards. They're not very dramatic, the clouds and mouse, but they certainly call on you to pay attention to detail. And so you want to focus on making the right decision here. The clouds and letter is about news. And the thing about the clouds is that it can be a little bit confusing or challenging in the sense that you might not have all of the answers, and there's a lack of clarity to some extent. But what's really nice about this is that we have the key and garden in the middle. So it calls on you, Scorpio, to reach out, to get in touch, to be involved with others, and you will get the answers that you want. So if you reach out, if you're involved, you're definitely going to clarify this message. What's also possible, Scorpio, is that this news, it's good news. It's inviting. It might cause you to think about how to prioritize your activity. So you want to also be focused on what's most important for you so that you can apply yourself accordingly. Now, the crossed with the mouse, like we said, a little bit challenging here. And then with the letter, there could be some gaps, some misunderstandings, or maybe you need to read between the lines. And again, there's probably some things that you need to clarify. I'm going to encourage you, Scorpio, not to take this in any negative way. So don't be stuck in these questions. You can just reach out and communicate and negotiate probably as well, and you'll find the answers that you need. The clouds with the child and fish, here is an important message. The child is about new beginnings. And with the clouds, it could be something that maybe you're nervous about or you don't have full clarity into the picture, but we see it with the fish. So this could be a new source of income or a new business or a new project or even a new job. And so this is quite nice for your finances because it's like you've got an opportunity. You can resolve any matter that is pending, and it could prove prosperous and supportive for you. The cross and clouds is a bit more challenging here because it does tell us that you could be confused or maybe even overwhelmed, Scorpio, about your priorities, about certain decisions you need to make. And I really think you're going to zoom into what is most important for you. The mouse and child, similar a little bit to the clouds and mouse, the clouds and child. This new beginning is maybe a bit anxiety causing for you, or you're not sure how to go about it. But I really think you're going to go for it, Scorpio. The letter and fish is, again, news about money. It could be a contract, something business related, something financial related. It could be a new source of income, a check, a bonus. All of these are really well starred with these cards. So it does look bright financially. There's just this new start, this first step towards this, Scorpio, that could be a little bit confusing for you. And also in relation to the news or the offer, or this paperwork that is represented by the letter, that could cause you a bit of doubt. But again, the key and garden in the middle is your key, quite literally, to answer any of these doubts and dispel them. The cross with the key, this is quite powerful. This could point to something significant beyond the day-to-day. And the child, garden, and letter is clearly a new place, a new environment, a new interaction, and probably because of the fish, it's more like a new offer. The clouds, key, and mouse here clearly answering these doubts and resolving them. And the garden and fish is very much about income and prosperity and business and even the marketplace. So I think you've got an opportunity here, Scorpio, to expand or improve or find a new source of income or improve your finances in one way or another. And it seems to involve the public or your community or some area of the market, or even just a workplace. But in general, these are really good cards for the opportunity itself, and also being able to clarify any of these doubts and moving forward into an exciting new beginning. So there is a bit of nervousness, a bit of tension here, Scorpio, but it's looking generally very bright. I certainly hope you resonate with this, and I also would like for you to tell me or to share how this played out for you, if this was job related or financial in another way, or if there was just opportunities to expand in some way or other, and what these little challenges were, if you're willing to share. So very best of luck with this, Scorpio. Thank you as always for tuning in, and until next time, take very good care of yourself. Hello, Sagittarius. Welcome to your weekly reading. Let's draw your hourglass and see what is in store for you this week. Okay, Sagittarius, here is your hourglass. And, it aligns with a few other signs where there are some strong, even turbulent changes. For your part, we're seeing this very clearly through the coffin, scythe, and whip. And on top of this, we have the ship, which is a card of movement and travel. But what's really nice about your hourglass, Sagittarius, is that we have the beautiful star in the middle, in this middle line. The star and ship, they are very much about a beautiful journey, wish fulfillment, this path opening up for you, and this is a desired path. So actually, this is an opportunity to align with a bigger goal, because the star tends to be about reaching for the stars, and it affects your aspirations, and it inspires in you a sense of faith in your journey. So it's really beautiful to see here with your ship. It could also be about traveling. It could be about a trip, a physical trip. And actually, the bird can support that. The bird is a card of news most of the time, but it can sometimes represent trips, usually shorter ones. So that too is possible. And if that's the case, then you're clearly looking forward to this trip. Now, the coffin and tower is another key message for a change and an ending. The coffin, obviously, a card of endings. The tower is about the long term, but it is also about the past. So it tends to represent these phases in life. And so you could be turning the page on a chapter. The tower is also a card for organizations and institutions, and it can sometimes represent your job or some other organization that affects your life. And with the coffin, you could be moving on from it, letting it go. When we look at the scythe and tower and the whip and tower, these messages are further supported. The whip is a more aggressive card, and the scythe is actually also quite aggressive. So this could be a sharp change. And I feel, Sagittarius, that you're happy about this opportunity to let go. So you definitely want to break away from the past or this environment represented by the tower and move on, pursuing this wonderful journey that is opening up here. Now, the letter and whip can be bad news, but my feeling, Sagittarius, is that you're the one announcing that you're leaving and moving and making these changes. And so it could come across as shocking, or it could shock the people around you. And same goes here with the letter, scythe, and tower. So we've got the letter and scythe. This could be breaking news. And then we have the scythe and tower, which is a clear release from the past. You know, there's a parallel here with the bird and whip, very similar to the letter and scythe. The scythe can be more neutral, and it could just represent something sudden, but the whip tends to clearly suggest a challenging situation. So with the bird, it's difficult news. So it's very similar to the bird and whip, letter and whip. There are challenges. There is this news that comes across as heavy-handed. There is this news that comes across as heavy-handed, and so it's very likely that you are going to communicate this difficult news, telling the folks around you, look, I'm done, and I'm pursuing my good here. So actually, between the top and bottom rows, there is quite a lot of parallel. We have the scythe and tower, which represents a release from the past, and we have the coffin and whip, which represents an ending. And in both lines, we have this difficult or heavy news that comes with the bird and whip. And here it's letter and scythe. The coffin and letter can mean that you've waited before communicating the message. So it could go both ways. It could mean ending, announcing an ending, or waiting to announce. The bird and scythe is that breaking news, so very similar to what we see here. And the whip and tower, like we said, is a release from the past or this chapter or this environment. Now, the coffin star with the scythe, ship, and whip, it brings together these three very loud and expressive cards, clearly pointing to this breakthrough and this change of direction. And the letter with the star, birds into the ship and tower is actually lovely because this is the wonderful news that pulls you in a new direction. So this diagonal or pair of diagonals is the brightest, and it points to this wonderful news that enables you to make this change and to pursue your bigger goals and your bigger dreams. Now, in terms of context, Sagittarius, the cards are flexible. It could be about your life in general, and I feel it is because the cards are kind of busy, and the star and tower can pull you through your bigger ambitions, like the bigger picture of your life. But it could also apply in another context. You let me know, Sagittarius, what you make of this. Certainly, I hope that you will soon be on the other side of this transition, pursuing these wonderful goals, or maybe traveling somewhere that you want to go to. So leave me a comment or two if you're willing to share. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. And until next time, take very good care of yourself. Hello, Capricorn. Welcome to your weekly reading. Let's draw your hourglass and see what is in store for you this week. Okay, Capricorn, here is your hourglass, and it's looking really bright. We have a couple of very strongly positive cards, the key and the star. So clearly this brings in some good news, maybe even wish fulfillment. And we see this with the letter, which is a card of news, and also with the bird. So there is a focus on communication or contact or some happy exchanges between you and other people. Now we have the fox on this side, and with the tower, we could be looking at jobs or perhaps something that's related to administration and legal or practical work because of the connection with the tower. But whatever the situation, it looks like there are some positive answers moving forward within the week. So the key and letter, this is great for good news. It's also a solution, resolution. It opens up a door. There's a lovely opportunity and a positive outcome through here. The garden and fox is often a combination of work because the job is often associated with the fox, and the garden often represents a community. But if it's not about the job for you, Capricorn, it could be a meeting with someone who proves to be supportive. It could be someone like an agent or someone like like someone who offers you some kind of service, and people like that. It could also be a meeting with someone who is a little bit deceptive, so someone you need to be a little bit careful with. And like we said, it could be about the job. But even if the fox has that cautionary side and can represent someone who's not particularly transparent, it's still a practical combination, and it can also endow you with the clever side of the fox. So it pays to be tactful and diplomatic, and I think this meeting is going to work out really nicely. So the house and tower here, the house and tower can mean a couple of different things because the tower can mean a couple of different things. So the house is more obvious. The tower can have a few meanings. It can point to a place from the past. So maybe the house and tower refers to a place you've been to before, maybe a place you grew up in, and places like that. And it can also represent something official or legal. So with the house, it can mean an office. It can mean a meeting with someone in that kind of authority. And it can also point to the job or corporations or organizations. And so with the house, it can be a reference to your team or such environments or groups. So it's really flexible what it can refer to for you. But with the tower, Capricorn, I would say the long-term view comes into the picture. And something else that I can say about the house and tower, is that they're creating a good foundation for you for the long term. And it can be a reference about where you live over the long term or where you establish yourself for some time. The key with the bird and fox is actually great for a job. It's great for negotiating, and it's great for finding solutions. So again, the fox can be a bit tricky. It can highlight the need for caution or the need to be aware that not everything that's happening is what it seems to be, Capricorn. So it's always a good idea to be careful and smart about this. But the fox is also clever, and that can make you clever. And with the key and bird, it's pretty clear that you'll be able to negotiate successfully something. The fox is also good with being a bit patient, so really being calm and calculated with the situation. The garden with the star and letter is wonderful news. This could be an invitation to meet, like we saw with the house and tower. And it could also point to success within a certain environment or things materialize. The letter brings this wonderful news. So this is a very beautiful message. It's similar to the key and garden here. We have answers with this place, this community. And the bird and star is yet another supportive message in the same regard. So we have the bird and star and letter, and they're both very similar, as well as the key and letter. So clearly there's some really good news here. The fox and letter again brings that element of caution. I would say, even if there's wonderful news, I would say handle it discreetly. Capricorn, that's one. And second, it's still going to pay to do your due diligence. So you don't have to, even though it's looking very promising, you want to take it in a calm way, maybe not show your excitement too much. And also it sounds like you have to follow through with some procedure here. The key with the house and star into the tower and fox, this is lovely in many different ways. It's great for finding yourself in the right place, in the right home over the longer term. It's great for finding a wonderful job. It's great for getting the support of someone who works in this environment here. And so the possibilities are quite varied. It depends on your specifics, Capricorn. But definitely positive answers and resolutions. And the garden with the house and bird into the tower and letter. Here we see the emphasis on the news and the communication and the getting together, because we have the garden, house, and tower along with the news cards, bird and letter. So it's clear that you need to get together with someone, or there's going to be some interaction with certain people. And based on this, there's going to be some really positive outcomes and some very good news. So the cards are lovely in many different contexts. They're great for solutions. They're great for following through, for getting the answers that you want. They're great for getting a job, possibly a promotion. I have to throw this in there because the tower has that elevation. So with the star, it can mean, and key, it can mean this improvement. So it depends really on your situation. I would say as a takeaway, Capricorn, it's important to follow through on this communication, to get together with this person, to negotiate carefully and calmly. And also when things work out, you want to maintain a balanced approach anyway. So really nice cards. Let me know how this played out for you, Capricorn. As always, I look forward to your thoughts and your feedback. Very best of luck with the week. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, take very good care of yourself. Hello, Aquarius. Welcome to your weekly reading. Let's draw your hourglass and see what is in store for you this week. Okay, Aquarius, here is your hourglass. It's kind of a really clear reading. There's a new beginning and a new involvement, contract, or commitment with someone, but it seems to come as a result of parting with something else. So we have the child and dog in the middle, which is clearly about a new friendship, a new colleague, a new relationship. And the ring and letter are a very clear message for a contract. So it's clear what's going on here just from these cards, that there's a new commitment, a new involvement. Now it can be something romantic. By the way, it can be a deepening relationship and making a commitment. The dog and ring often suggest a deepening relationship, and often a relationship moving into a loving relationship out of a friendship. And the ring and letter can be something like a proposal outright. So these are all possibilities, but the child definitely points to this new chapter or this new relationship altogether. The tree and letter is lovely for wonderful news, and the scythe and ring is a very clear combination for a divorce. So it's essentially the combination of divorce. So that's why I was saying that there's a new relationship that comes in the back of an ending. So you could be parting with someone or removing yourself from a commitment, not necessarily a relationship. And this moves you towards a new one and a new commitment. So these are great cards for a job change, for example, or you're changing customers, or you're done with a customer, or you move into a different direction. But the news is great, and this is a wonderful new beginning for you. The tree with the snake and ring is a careful message, because the snake is often a card of deception. I have to say that when it comes to relationships, the snake is the card of cheating and deception. So there could be something like that going on behind the scenes, and maybe that's why you move away from that relationship, or perhaps they're the ones who drop out. So that's a good thing either way. But also, Aquarius, the snake is a card of tact and diplomacy, and it's also a very careful and clever card. And with the tree, it's often a combination of wisdom. So the way you handle this new relationship and this new involvement is in an indirect and clever way. The scythe and stork is definitely about change, and the stork and letter is about news and the green light that comes through. The scythe can be a card of suddenness, so it's possible that this change or this news and invitation or offer comes through unexpectedly. Here's the tree and scythe, very similar to the scythe and ring. This is a removal, an uprooting. And so it's clear that there are changes in here. And the snake and stork is about moving away. It's less sharp than the scythe. So how you go through this transition, Aquarius, could depend. It could be either sharp or softly, or a combination of the two. And like we said, the ring and letter is lovely for a contract. So very clear cards. It's very clear what the dynamic is here, Aquarius. You're moving from one commitment to another. It could be one relationship to another, or it could be moving away from a situation to a relationship. And the way you do this is probably a combination between sharply and smoothly, but it sounds like this is a really good opportunity to make a change for yourself. And in terms of context, the cards are flexible as well. It could be something personal. It could be friendship. It could be a colleague or it could be business related or some other connection in your life. It's really flexible based on the cards. So let me know what you make of this, Aquarius, in what context it played out for you, and why you were going through this change, and hopefully it materialized in a positive way for you. As always, I look forward to your thoughts and feedback. Very best of luck with the week. Thank you for tuning in, and until next time, take very good care of yourself. Hello, Pisces. Welcome to your weekly reading. Let's draw your hourglass and see what is in store for you this week. Okay, Pisces, here is your hourglass, and we have the beautiful key on this side, on the right-hand side of the hourglass, which delivers wonderful outcomes and solutions. I have to say, though, Pisces, that your middle line, the heart and whip, is a concerning combination. This often points to a heartbreak or something painful, and maybe feelings like regret, but usually just pain and upset. So we see that at the heart of things, maybe you're going through a difficult time on the inside and you've been feeling upset in some ways or other. It could also be some anxiety and maybe things like fear and a sense of insecurity. But the outer cards around the heart and whip are very bright, and they bring a sense of reassurance and solutions, mainly through the key, but also the key in a few different combinations. Now, the Child and Lily is a really important message of a new phase. And we also see it with the Child and Tree, which points to a seed that is growing in a new direction, in a new phase or a new growth. So clearly in the back of this upset or this nervousness and fear, there's a new and fresh start that's materializing. The lily is sometimes a card of not just your life path, but also potentially your career. So you could be looking at a new chapter in your life, in your work, and the day-to-day situation of your life. And the key and lily is a lovely message because it tells us that this new phase and chapter that you're going into, you're going to succeed at, and it's going to prove to be really successful. This really comes with the tree and key as well, because this combination points to achieving a very important goal. So it's clear to me, Pisces, that you're going to overcome your upsets, your fears, your anxieties, and you're going to deliver on something that has to do with your longer term goals and objectives. So it could be a big deal what you're able to achieve at this point. Now, the woman with the mountain and lily can mean someone who lives in another location, in another country, or a place that is farther away. And you could also be contemplating a move, or maybe, Pisces, you have a connection with this person here. So this person can mean someone you connect with. She could be part of this new chapter, and she could be someone who supports you with this new beginning. The tree and mountain also very much supports that life abroad, because both of the tree and lily have to do with life itself, and also they're kind of settled, and they sit in that space. Now, the mountain is sometimes a card of obstacles as well. It can block things, especially when we see it with a card like the whip. But it does clearly show that you're going to overcome these obstacles. And the thing about these cards, Pisces, is that even though the whip is aggressive and heavy-handed, you also have a more peaceful approach in general. And that's definitely going to help you overcome these blockages or these inner fears and inner obstacles, and overcome them and start a wonderful new chapter. And like we said, the key and lily clearly points to the fact that you're going to be on the right track. So it could be quite a leap in your consciousness this week, Pisces, where you're able to overcome a certain state of feelings, upsets, and even fears. And you could you could move into this new chapter, and it looks to be really positive for you. The child with the heart into the mountain is another indication of an important chapter, and the mountain and whip are overcome by the key. So you're going to overcome these obstacles and these fears, Pisces, and move into this sense of fulfillment and achievement. And with the woman and heart and tree into the whip and lily, it's clear that here there is someone supportive in the face of these upsets, in the face of these changes. You might also make changes together. Maybe there are things that you're going through together, and the situation is not generally easy, but you are going to find answers, and you're going to find yourself settled in a more peaceful place. Now, in terms of context, Pisces, there are a few different possibilities. It could be related to a personal relationship where maybe there are differences that come up, but you're able to resolve them and turn the page. I think, though, that the cards affect your life in a deeper way. You could consider moving. You could consider changing where your roots are and making deeper changes and adjustments in your life. But I do think there is a strong element of your inner life, your consciousness that points to overcoming these upsets and these fears into a new direction. I also feel, Pisces, that you're kind of self-driven. So it's like you are making some important changes for your life and you're in the driver's seat. And so maybe this is part of the fear or the anxiety, is that you are charting your own course and making some important chapter changes in your life. But you're definitely in for success. Now, I have to say that we can also apply these cards to smaller or more day-to-day kind of situations. So, for example, with relationships, like I mentioned, you could create a new chapter with someone, or you could meet someone who initially is, not clear how they feel, but things work out. You're also able to overcome any differences with someone after some upset. And in terms of a job, you could get a new job. Someone could help you get a new job. Maybe you've had challenges in this area, but you overcome them, and so on. So the cards are flexible in terms of context, but the dynamic is clear. I feel, again, there's a strong inner emotional message here because of the heart and whip being also inside the hourglass. So you're going to overcome these fears and you're going to find a sense of direction for yourself, Pisces, in a new chapter, in a new relationship, in a new situation altogether. So let me know what you make of these cards. I certainly wish you the best with overcoming these fears or this inner tension. Let me know how it plays out. I always look forward to your perspective. Very best of luck with this, Pisces. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, take very good care of yourself.